I am.
And so Kris told that joke last week at their big EDCO presentation, and I just gotta give it up for Kris. He does a great job with that community. There were hundreds of people there. It was really a great event. Thank you for taking care of our economy here and, and business in Redmond. And then finally, another thank you to Amber Wilson, who has been doing an amazing job with our speakers. And so I'm going to introduce our speaker for this week, Kris Davis. Kris graduated from Redmond High School in 1991. He has deep roots with his dad and grandfather coaching wrestling at Redmond High School. Kris was recruited in 2012 by Redmond to move from Coos Bay back to Redmond to take a counseling position that opened the door for the coach of the wrestling team. Last year, Redmond won the 5A state championship. Currently, they need new mats, and the goal is a $25,000 campaign. They're applying for grants and have applied to Kiwanis. They also have a few fundraisers and have raised over $8,000 so far. And am I right to say, Kris, you guys won the wrestling?
The Oregon Classic.
The Oregon Classic.
Last weekend.
Last week. So let's give it up for Kris, and we'll look forward to hearing that.
Thank you so much. I'm just getting my voice back from the weekend, so I apologize. It's a little rough right now, but I want to thank you, first of all, for having me. This is the second time I've spoken at the Kiwanis Club, so I wanted to jump at the chance to come and speak to you again, especially after the things that we've been doing in our wrestling program at Redmond High School. I'm really proud of the things that are happening there, and so a lot of you, I guess, came last night and witnessed our basketball team taking care of business, which was awesome too. I love Reagan. Me and him talk often in my office about different things. Yes?
Did we see you sweeping the floor?
Yes, that was me. I do it all. So at Redmond High School, I kind of wear a lot of hats. I'm officially the Dean of Students, which is most of my job of making sure kids are doing what they're supposed to be doing and staying in class. But I also, I'm the leadership advisor as well, so I'm in charge of making sure activities go off without a hitch. So all the student section and all that stuff, I'm in charge of all that stuff and making sure kids are having fun and doing it the right way, but also putting together dances and activities at Redmond High School, so that's another full-time job on top of what I'm doing, plus the wrestling job that I'm in charge of, and then also I'm going to school to get my admin license, so I have class tonight for 5 hours, so I have to go do that tonight, so that's pretty exciting. But so I feel like I'm blessed to have the time where I can go and do these things, but I'm also overwhelmed a lot throughout the day in getting things taken care of and making sure things are going the way they're supposed to. So I guess today what I'd like to talk a little bit about is kind of how we as leaders in the community, in our schools, how we shape kids' lives in a way to get the most out of them. I'm often asked, hey, how do you manage 90 wrestlers in a small wrestling room with the expectations that you have to win and to perform on the mat? And it comes down to the way you talk to individuals and what you ask of them. And so I've learned, I've been a head wrestling coach for over 26 years now. I started when I was 25, and I've made a lot of mistakes. Like I learned through those 25 years of how to handle kids and families and parents. But communication is the key, and when you communicate well with parents and students, the trust level grows, and obviously the way you treat them, and you give them opportunities to grow. We as an organization of Redmond Wrestling, we don't back down from any competition. The better the competition, the more we want to go. So we went to Reno, Tournament of Champions, which is one of the top 5 wrestling tournaments in the country. Went down and competed there over Christmas break. We go to the Oregon Classic. We go to Reese's TOC, which is over in the Valley. We try and bring in teams, which is one more thing I want to put on your calendar. Next Wednesday, the 24th, we are hosting Thurston in our gym. We're the number 1 ranked wrestling team against the number 3 ranked wrestling team in our gym. Is next Wednesday, the 24th. At 6, the girls will be wrestling, and then at 7, we'll wrestle Thurston's varsity team. So if you're available, it's going to be a great night of wrestling, and so I invite you to come out and see that as well. But we try and find that competition and build kids' confidence through that. Sometimes kids get beat by really good wrestlers, but how we handle that in the practice room afterwards through communication and pushing kids to be their best, it builds trust and it builds an understanding of what the expectation is. And so we've done a very good job with our coaching staff of building that trust within our program. We have also added another trust thing in our program with an academic coach that we have on our wrestling team. Having 90 wrestlers, some of which are not very good students, have to stay eligible through the whole wrestling season when we're missing a lot of school. I've added one of our English teachers, Jenny Johnson. She takes care of our academic side, making sure kids are eligible and doing the things that they need to in the classroom as well. So we've gained trust in our school with our teachers as well. So all that comes back to building our program in a way that people want to be a part of it. Our numbers have grown so much over the last few years because of that, because of the ability that we have to help parents understand that we're going to take care of their kids and they're going to do the right things most of the time. And so we want to make sure that people understand that we're not just coaching wrestling. We're not doing that. We're doing something way bigger where we're trying to prepare kids for the future and help them feel success in a way that they've never felt before. Whether it's academically because if they struggle in school and then they get that first A, it's a different light bulb goes off. Or if they have confidence on the wrestling mat because they were able to beat a kid that they lost to earlier in the year because we made adjustments and did things to help them get to that point. It's all related, and so kids are then now confident to go out and do whatever it is they want to do after high school. We do have a few kids wrestling in college right now. Anson Whiting, who was our state champion last year, is wrestling in Northern Idaho, which is in Coeur d'Alene. And then we also have Junior Downing, who is wrestling for the #1 ranked team in the Division II in Lander back in South Carolina, and he's their 149-pounder right now. So we have a couple kids that have gone on and wrestled, but most of our kids go on and work, or they go on to different professions and schools and focus on academics. And so we want to make sure that they're doing the things right, that they can be successful in those areas as well. And so, talking a little bit about some of our successes. Last year when we won the 5A state championship, we were not on the radar to win that state title. So I get a lot of questions like, hey, how'd you do that? What did you do? I knew we had the capability of winning a state title. It was just a matter of our kids believing in it. And I think we do a really good job of prepping them throughout the season and peaking right at the right time. And when we talk about peaking, that means that they're in their best shape possible and they're wrestling their best at the right time. And so we do, right now we're in the middle of what we call our doubles. So we run in the morning for 45 minutes. And so it's a conditioning type thing, and then we practice for an hour and a half after school. People are thinking that's crazy. How you can 90 kids to the morning workouts and then having them go to school and then work out after practice or after school with practice, and it's an expectation. Kids, you just say it and the kids show up and you expect it and you hold them accountable, and they need that structure. They need that ability to know that I'm putting in more time and effort than the guy I'm wrestling or the girl I'm wrestling. They know that they are putting in the extra time to do that, and so it's really not a big ask when kids they know the expectation, and they're going to find a way. You get kids that sleep in, they sleep past their alarm and that sort of thing, so they got to make it up after practice, and they know that expectation. They always ask me, hey, what do I got to do to make up? And so they know the drill. And so we do a really good job of making sure that they're progressing through the year. We start real slow. Like by this time in January, we're rolling. We're pushing them pretty hard, and then we kind of taper off right towards the end, and then they should be ready to go. And so I told some coaches, like, I think that we peak our kids at the right time, and we put them in situations where they feel like they can be successful. And we pin a lot of people, and so we're really tough on top. So that helps too. And so when we do those things and we put all that stuff together, the result of winning a state title kind of came naturally, and it wasn't anything that we did special or huge. It was just that we took care of our kids in the right way, and we put them in the right situations to be successful. And so right now, we won the state tournament last year. We didn't expect it. I think we did it a year early because this year's team is way better than what we had last year. And so we are now in a position right now to hopefully go back to back with our state title and do something we have never done. And so that's something that's pretty cool. Speaking of things we haven't ever done, was winning the Oregon Wrestling Classic last week. That's the first time in Redmond school history that we've won that tournament. It's a big moneymaker for our community. It's one that gets circled on a lot of people's calendars, like they want to come and watch what goes on at that classic, because it's a spectacle of so many kids. There's a lot of excitement around it, and this year was no different. Even though there's about 20 teams that couldn't come because of weather, there were still about 70-75 teams that were there, and so we did a great job of putting everything together. And the Oregon Wrestling Classic Committee does a great job of making sure that things are fair and put together. But to walk away with a championship in that setting and in front of our fans really said a lot about our kids and the effort that they put in. We ended up beating Dallas High School in the finals by 1 point. They beat us earlier this year at the Northwest Duels, which is over in Albany. So we made some adjustments as coaches and moved some kids around, and it worked out for us to win that duel and to win the tournament. So it was really an exciting atmosphere, a lot of cool energy that our kids felt, not only from their teammates, but from the community. My cell phone was blowing up for 2 days after that, just with congratulations. And so I know it means a lot to people that we won that tournament, because it's been a long time coming. So we're into shattering records and making history. We're all about that, but we're also about producing good young men and young women in our program, and that's first and foremost. And we want to focus on team and building that team atmosphere. Even though it's an individual sport, we still focus on our team and the people that are in our room. And then finally, I've been at this for a while, and my family has been a part of Redmond, Oregon for a while too. My grandfather was the assistant wrestling coach at Redmond High School when they won the state championship in 1959. And then my father was my high school wrestling coach here at Redmond High School, and so I've been through the program as a wrestler and now as a coach. And I can tell you that there's a lot of pride that goes into Redmond and the program that we're building right now, and the following that we have right now is really awesome to see. And so I know I don't know how to turn this in, but when people talk about what about combining the schools and all that stuff, and so I've been the sounding board for that for a lot of people, and without sounding callous or anything like that, I don't see how that can be beneficial for a lot of people. And so with what we're trying to build as a community, and what we have going on, I don't know. It's hard for me to wrap my brain around the whole concept that we're trying to portray to the community and to our kids. And so it's a slippery slope that we're on right now. That we can. There are some positives. Don't get me wrong. To combining schools as far as saving money and all that stuff. But when you talk about tradition and you talk about what we're trying to build here in a small little school when we're battling up against Ben and all those Summit and some of these bigger schools, we're holding our own, and you can see it. Our kids know how to battle and overcome that. We just can't get caught up in it. And I think a lot of people are getting caught up in what Ben's doing, and we shouldn't be getting caught up in what they're doing. We should be taking care of what we're doing right here.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. And so I think we have a lot of people that feel the same way in our school, but I think there's a lot of people that are talking behind closed doors that are making decisions that they haven't looked at the big picture yet. And so there's going to be some things come out, and I'm sure some of you are in the middle of a lot of that and paying attention, and as you should. because it's your money and it's the things that we're asking of you as community members. So please understand that within the walls of Redmond High School, we are still kind of holding strong on what we want for Redmond High School and what we want for Ridgeview High School, because they're doing the same thing, as they should. Ridgeview should be holding strong as well. They don't want to have to give up their traditions that they've started and created as well. And so we're trying to figure things out as we go and making the best of it. But I do want to give you an update on our wrestling mat. We are fully funded. I got the money, so it's all taken care of. So thank you. I put in, Kiwanis obviously has donated generously, but we've also gained a lot of traction after our success over the Oregon Classic. The money rolled in, and so I'm going to be making an order for our wrestling mats tomorrow, and so I'm pretty excited about that. I've been working with the school district, and so everything's good, and we're making that order tomorrow. And so I really appreciate the community that we have that's willing to step up for our kids. Those mats are 12 years old, they're falling apart. I had one of my ex-wrestlers from Vegas come up and watch the Oregon Classic, and he practiced with us, and he's like, oh my gosh, yeah, you need new mats. They're bad, and our kids makes them tougher, I guess, I don't know, but yeah, it's time and we need it. And so it's a blessing to know that we have people that are willing to help us and support us no matter the situation, and so I really appreciate that. I don't know how this goes. Do you guys? I can open to questions if you guys have questions. Yes.
Kris, there's 90 folks on your team.
Yeah.
Do they all wrestle? Do they all get, provided they make weight? They all get to wrestle.
So we have some kids that have over 40 matches right now already this season, and then some of our younger kids they wrestle every week in what they call a novice event, and so they get 3 to 4 matches a week in the novice events, plus weekends if they travel with us on weekends. So yeah, we're getting kids matches all over the place, and our girls program is separate from our boys right now. We have 25 girls, 65 boys, but our girls probably have more matches than our boys do right now because they're wrestling a lot, and because there's a lot of opportunities right now around girls wrestling, and to be honest with you, girls wrestling saving wrestling as a whole because of the interest around that, and colleges are adding programs because of girls wrestling, and so I think we want to really make sure that we're pushing that. I think we're going to have probably another 10 to 12 more girls next year that are going to be wrestling. So our program's going to be one of the biggest in the state, just on girls wrestling alone. So yeah, so we have to split practice. So right now we have our novice kids and our girls practicing at 3 to 4:30, and then our varsity and JV boys practice from 4:30 to 6, and then we bring in another 130 kids after that with our youth program. They're running through that room as well, and so it's a machine right now. It's a machine that we're working on, but the mats have to be the biggest focus on right now because they're getting beat up, and so that's kind of the need that we have right now. So thanks for the question. Yes.
Where did your mats come from?
Pennsylvania.
How long will it take?
I don't know. Good question. I'm assuming 10 weeks probably. But yeah, they're going to put us on rush because they know the situation. So I just got off the phone with Kevin Roberts, the rep for Resolite Mats, and he's like, he knows the situation, so he's going to get it going as soon as we can. So, but they're coming on rail from Pennsylvania, and so that's where they'll hopefully get here soon. Yes.
What are your weight classes and how many wrestlers do you have in each?
Oh, so there's 14 weight classes, different for boys and girls, but it's 106, 113, 120, 126, 132, 138, 144, 150, 157, 165, 175, 190, 215 heavy. Those are the 14 for boys. I can't rattle the ones off for girls right off the top of my head. But it's 5-pound increments up until about 145. Starts at 100 and then goes 155, 170, 190, and then 235. But we have, so depth chart wise on the boys, we have one weight class that has 7 kids in it, depth chart wise.
Which weight class?
It's 190. Yeah, 190. Yeah, so we have a lot of bigger kids. So we have a lot of depth. obviously, so we're only allowed to wrestle varsity 14 weight classes, 14 kids, JVs 14, and then all these extra kids, that's where we take them to these novice events where we add them as extras into JV tournaments, and they get money, get batches that way. It costs a lot of money and hotel costs and things like that, so we fundraise pretty well through our alumni association that we have. We do a big banquet, and then we host tournaments and things like that where we make a little bit of money to pay for hotels and travel. But yeah, it's a lot to manage, logistically, for sure. Yeah.
You must have assistant coaches.
I have 9
How do
assistant
they
coaches.
specialize?
How do they what?
How do they divvy out the functions of it?
Well, so I have 3 guys that oversee our novice group. I have 2 girls coaches, and then I have 4 varsity JV coaches. And so we just kind of divide that way. And so we have to, if we're at a tournament where there's varsity and JV going on at the same time, our JV guys go into JV and varsity goes to varsity, and we try and make it work as best we can. Girls will stay with girls, and so it's like I said, logistically, you got to just make sure that you stay aware. And there's this thing called, and if you ever have been a part of tracking wrestling, it's called Track Wrestling. It's an app on your phone that you can follow what mat your kid is on, when they're coming up, team scores, results, all that kind of stuff. So we as coaches have Track Wrestling on our phones. We get an alert, an email or a text message alert when a kid's coming up on a mat, so we know where to be. And so it's kind of, and that's how we have to follow it. Before you had to make sure the kid was coming to find you, but now it dings on our phone, we look at it, and then we're hustling to the mat and making sure we're coaching the kids up. So yeah.
How many coaches altogether?
So I want to say it's 9. I think. Yeah, 9 altogether. So yeah. So I oversee it all. I'm the kind of the CEO manager of it all, but I obviously I'm coaching in the room with the varsity group. But I also go to the novice events. I also go to the girls events. Like this weekend, I'm taking the girls because our varsity and JV team took a week off finally. We get a weekend off, but we're taking our girls over to Dallas High School, and so I'm going with them. And it's my daughter's a senior on the girls team, and so not only am I coaching, but I'm a father as well. My son is the varsity 113 pounder on our team as well as a freshman. So we've got a lot going on in our family as well, travel, but yeah, I try and oversee all of it. So, yeah.
Kris, talk about the little kids. How early can they start, and roughly how many kids do you have now?
Yeah, so we have 130 kids in our Rock of Redmond Mat Club, and that's housed at Redmond High School. And it starts, so we have a rookie class that goes only for 6 weeks, and that's 5 and 6 year olds. So they start at 5 years old. And you should come in and watch that. If you ever get a chance. It's babysitting is what it is. And we're playing games and trying to make it fun for them, but they're losing. They're learning a couple moves, and then we're playing a game. And then because their attention span's about this big. And so, but it's awesome. We have a head coach over our rookies, and then he has parents that help. Then we have a head coach over our intermediates, which is kind of our 7, 8, 9 year olds in there. And so that's our intermediate class, and they practice for about an hour and a half. And then I have a head coach over our advanced class, who's more of our kids that have wrestled for a little bit, and they practice for 2 hours. And so that's not every day; it alternates. But when we have kids come through, like I said, there's about 130 of them, and then they are our advanced coach is basically the head coach over all the divisions. His name is Jose Reyes, and he is an unbelievable person, like a kid magnet. Kids love him. He does an amazing job, and so he's one of those valuable people that you have to have in your program to make those kind of things work. And so we are in constant contact, talking about things that he wants to do and how he goes about it. And so not only am I helping out with the high school, but I'm also helping out with the youth. And then I also help Rob Tanner a little bit at the middle school. We have over 70 kids out at our middle school program right now at Elton Gregory. And then Rob Tanner and Dave Richardson and those the old names at Key Sides. I'm sure some of you know all these people. They're still coaching. They're still doing it. And so they're at the middle school helping me out with the middle school program, and they do an amazing job down there as well. I don't have to help them as much because they're pretty dialed in on what they know, but we bring our kids down there and let them mingle with the middle school kids as well, and so it's a pretty good situation.
All those little kids also have tournaments.
Yes, so every weekend.
Yeah.
So they wrestled at the Oregon Classic as well, and we had a great showing. Our kids did outstanding. We had quite a few kids get medals from the Oregon Classic, the youth tournament that happened on Sunday, and so that was really cool to see. Yeah.
Does Ridgeview have a wrestling program?
High school?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a high school team. They're not very good. I'm not going to put them down, but they don't put in the time, I don't think, that necessary to get to where they need to be. He's a young coach. He's still learning. He calls me a lot and runs things by me. He's a great guy, but it takes a lot to run a program and do it the right way. And so, like I said, we do a lot in the off season as well. So we take kids, like this summer, we're going to Los Angeles, California, and going and wrestling through LA for a week and doing all those kind of things. So it's definitely, you got to put in the time. The off-season stuff is very important as well. But Ridgeview has a high school program. They were at the Classic too. We wrestled them. I think we beat them 60-12 or something. we didn't show any mercy, but it was all good. But so they don't have a youth program right now. That's what I told them. You got to get something going in your youth program and start building it from there. And so hopefully they can get that going. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
So a couple times during the year, we have different fundraising events where we could use some muscle helping us set up tables or moving hay bales. We contact you.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have kids that are always available.
A couple hours on a Thursday afternoon or Friday morning or Saturday morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can reach out to me, and John has my number, and definitely, let me know what way you need, and we can make it work for us. Yeah.
I knew a couple of wrestlers a long time ago. They were always doing a making weight or diet. I haven't heard much about that yet today from you.
No. So the National Federation for wrestling, they basically put in what's called a weight certification program, and so kids have to get tested, body fat tested before the season starts, and then they're put into what's called a descent plan. So that descent plan allows them to safely lose weight at a 1.5% of their total body weight per week. So if you're obviously, if you're a little guy, that number is going to be pretty small. But if you're a big guy, it's more weight that you can lose per week. And so they have to follow a descent plan, a weekly descent plan. So they can't go below the weight that's on that plan for them per week. So we follow that pretty closely. I have a coach that strictly has that notebook and has to tell me, hey, this kid can go 126 this week now because of this descent plan. So then we're able to drop kids. So our lineup that was at the Northwest Duels before Christmas, or right during Christmas, was way different than our lineup was for the Oregon Classic, because we were able to drop kids down the next weight class, and they were able to do it safely without crash dieting 15 pounds, because I was one of those kids in high school where I was cutting 15 pounds a week, and it was horrible, and so it was tough. And so these kids, they're only allowed to lose 1.5% of their total body weight a week, down to 7%. Once they hit the 7% body fat, they shut it down. You can't cut any more weight. So I know when I was a kid, I had to be below 7% because I wasn't even. I'd start running, and I couldn't even sweat. All the fluids were out of my body, and it was dangerous. And so it's crazy now how it's changed, and they kind of taken it out of the coach's hands and the kids' hands, and they put it onto a system, and it seems to be working across the nation. Every team in the nation has to go through it, and it's an expectation that you have to turn in a weigh-in sheet that has their weight classes that they can wrestle for that week. So it's all on a weigh-in sheet that you turn in for each tournament. So, yeah.
I wrestled in high school.
Yeah.
I weighed in at 126. Obviously, that was a long time ago. But people don't realize what a 6-minute match will take out of you.
Yes.
You have to be in shape, and I was in the best shape of my life when I wrestled.
Yep. And there's a lot that goes into the conditioning piece of it, and when you think about just that, a 6-minute match doesn't sound like a long time, but when every muscle in your body is working at optimum performance, it takes a lot out of you. It's amazing to watch some of our kids who are top level kids. We got some kids that are ranked #1 in the state right now. We got 4 of them that are ranked #1 in the state. And to watch them perform and walk off the mat and not be almost breaking a sweat, it's just a normal thing for them. It just tells you to what we're doing in the room and how we're preparing them physically and mentally to where they can do that and not feel any effects of anything and be able to do it 5 minutes later. It's pretty amazing what these kids are capable of doing. So I feel like we're putting kids in the right spot to be successful because of the knowledge that we have and the mistakes I've learned from over the years, and being able to put kids where they need to be is pretty special, and it's fun to watch. All right.
Great, guys. Thank you,
Thank you.
Kris. No, stay up here. And may I have the board of the foundation, Kiwanis Foundation board members come up? You're here. How many wrestlers do we have in this room, guys? It seems like quite a few of you.
I actually, his grandfather was, this is my first. So I really dated myself.
So for our newer members in the room, you might not know this, but we have, of course, the Kiwanis Club that does donations, usually under $1,000. And then we also have the foundation board, Kiwanis Foundation Board. That board does capital projects, so when anybody ever comes to us and asks for usually over $1,000 donation, it goes through the foundation. Mike, would you like to say anything?
I'd love to say something. It's a great honor. We're going to present Kris and the rest of the team for $5,000 outfund grants.
All right, get a little bit and then, have a smile on your face. All right, thanks.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Kris.
Thank you.
So in honor of Kris and his wrestling and the program, the quote today is, gold medals aren't really made of gold. They are made of sweat, determination, and a hard-to-find alloy called guts. Can anyone guess who said that? Any wrestlers? Dan Gable.
I was going to say, University of Iowa.
Don't forget.
Oh, Kris, I'm sorry.
And Olympian.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for being flexible with the room setup and for being here